I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
What's it called? It's just a phase or just a face? What's so funny? I'm trying to make sure I do this right. I would do this professionally.
You asked me the name of the podcast, and that's literally the only thing that we've already figured out.
Oh. What is it? What did we land on?
Just a phase. Hey everyone, this is the first episode of It's Just a Phase. I'm Sierra, and this is...
Kelcie.
And we're just gonna run our mouths until something good comes out. Sound good?
We'll try.
Alright, well... We do this all the time, so I don't know why a microphone and a camera would make that much harder.
It makes me nervous.
I know it does. You're like a little weenie sometimes.
I so am. I feel like sometimes I'm a badass when you put a camera in front of me and I'm like, why?
I am squishy.
I don't like it.
Well, we did decide that the one thing that we know for sure that we can talk about today is the film Hereditary, because it is so god-awful, and I don't understand how it's a runner-up for any kind of award, because honestly...
Is it?
It is.
I did not know that.
It's...
I know a lot of people talk about it, and a lot of people talk well about it, which pissed me off enough.
Right. I'm hearing so many people say how good Hereditary is. Now, the story itself...
Could have been well done.
Could have been amazing.
Yes.
And I actually heard something the other day. If you guys haven't seen Hereditary yet, you might want to pause this podcast and come back later after you've seen it, because there will be a lot of spoilers. And with that said, I watched a short little clip about Hereditary the other day where somebody was saying, like, the main demon that's in the girl's body at the beginning, wasn't supposed to be in her body in the first place. Like, the demon was supposed to be in the boy's body, and that's why the girl has to die, and why they fight so hard. The mom fights so hard for her son and everything, because he was supposed to be the original body that the demon...
That makes much more sense.
Because
but
the
grandmother had a hold of the daughter.
That's why the grandmother wanted the son, but the mom was like, nah, that's...
You can have the little one, though.
You can have...
Fucking weirdo.
This one makes noises, like, you can... Yeah. Oh, man, every time you do that, I want to throw up.
I know.
But honestly, though, like, we went into the film, like, to be fair,
we went into the film being told, hey, guys, let's go watch a movie. It's about witchcraft, and her and I were like, sounds good to us.
Yeah, so we went into this film with the thought that it's going to be about witchcraft, it's going to be cool. We were told that it was, like, a generation upon generation, which it is... To an extent,
yeah, I guess.
But we were expecting more like witchcraft and like horror, like, and we were told that it was a really, really good film. So we went in with high expectations, which for a horror film, it's difficult to do, if we're being fair. But I think this one missed the mark by a lot.
I was super disappointed because the storyline, like we were just saying, could have been so well done.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like, it really could... The ending was absolute trash.
That's, I think, the only thing that really kept me... to be fair, it was, like, 4 o'clock in the morning when we were watching this film.
It was.
So I was falling asleep in the beginning because, like, the first 10 minutes, I think,
Pretty
10,
slow.
20 minutes are really, really slow, which a lot of movies can be that way, too, just because there's so much information to give. But it was so slow that plus the lack of sleep I had, I couldn't pay attention, and...
I was really disappointed that the mom didn't catch on earlier that woman that she met was friends with her mother.
Yeah, it was pretty clear.
It was very clear.
So, that's one of the problems. Like I was saying, like, it was so slow in the beginning, and it did end up picking up, which is what kept me watching it, what woke me up, you know.
Once it picked up, it went pretty quick.
So, I think that was, like, that's a good plus, but... The story could have been done so much better. There was a lot of...
They had creepy moments that, like... That was well done. Like, for a horror film that...
The jump scares
it's
were really
supposed
good.
to scare you, so they had those creepy moments like the crawling up the wall, stealing situation. Yeah. That just creeps me out in general, personally.
The gore was really well done.
Yes.
Like, the special effects were amazing.
Absolutely.
However, the acting is one thing I've heard a lot about. I've heard that the acting was really good, and I disagree. Like, I...
Also,
wholeheartedly disagree with...
Exactly. But as soon as she went to burn that book, when she first attempted to, and it started to burn her arm, and she was trying to get her husband to throw it in there or whatever, so that basically she was sacrificing herself.
Right.
Immediately I knew it was just going to kill her husband. Like, did she just not even think that was a possibility? To, like, fuck it, let's just toss it in there and see what happens. Like, what?
it's just weird because they open it with a lot of backstory on the grandmother and everything, so you can understand that there's some weird...
And then she's not in the film much.
Accurate.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm getting at. Like, they open with so much backstory, and then they just show you the party and the girl dying and everything, and you're just like...
I'm not gonna lie, when he was running, or, like, racing down that road, and she was, like, gasping in the back seat, and the headlights is all the only light on that road. Yep. And he's racing down that road trying to get to a hospital.
Definitely thought something was going to run in front of the car.
I thought the grandmother would be standing in the middle of the road at some point, or like something creepy would have. I was not expecting that.
The suspense build was really good for that. Like, and again, the special effects were really, really good.
Yeah.
It was just, like, the acting, the way that he...
And how chill he was at the end, like how against all this he was, and at the end he was like, oh, well, all right, cool.
It was so much build for not enough, like, reward, you know what I mean? A lot of the film that we talked about it was very slow at times, and one thing especially with film, that we've discussed this before, one thing especially important with film is that every minute counts, every second counts. Mm-hmm. When you're telling a story, you have to make sure everything that you put in the film pushes the story forward, otherwise you're just wasting the viewer's time when you can be going deeper into the film. And I felt like there was a lot of that, especially with the mother's character.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was a lot of focus on her, which is understandable because she's going mad because she understands what's happening, but as a viewer we still don't understand what's happening. Mm-hmm. But there was so much focus on her about things that really weren't that relevant. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like they were just trying to be a little more creepy than actually tell the story at certain parts.
I had so many questions for that young girl. Like, the only explanation we ever got was the mother saying to somebody at some point that her mother was like an evil woman and had gotten her claws into her daughter.
Right, the demon was in the daughter.
Right, and we got that pretty much. Right, but the kid didn't really talk, and we didn't really get an understanding as to why or anything. Like what did she kill a bird at school or something?
That was very confusing because when it first opened, and this was not any bias or prejudice by any means, but I assumed by the way that the character was being portrayed that she may have had a mental disorder or disability.
Yeah, so did I at first.
So I just assumed that because of the way that the character was being told. She was very shy and
did not communicate well, was strange socially.
Which is all signs of some kind of disorder or disability, but they just kind of moved past it like, whatever, she was just shy, but it's
they'll
not,
get it, right.
It really wasn't that way, because even shy people have a personality, and they never showed her personality.
Not
she was
once.
just there.
Yes.
And that threw me off because she was such an important piece. Like, the demon was in her body. That was the only vessel that demon had when coming into that. So why didn't we know more about that vessel? Why wasn't it touched on a little bit more? No, is that the
same demon
that possesses him at the end? That was wanting him at the very end.
And like he like beats himself up at school. That's the demon that was in her.
Right.
Okay.
Because, so I don't remember exactly what this, and I encourage you guys to do any kind of research or look at any other films, any kind of critiques as far as this film goes after you watch it to get other opinions and point of views. But basically what I was learning from the stuff that I saw was that the mother would not allow the grandmother to do whatever she needed to do to get the demon into his vessel.
Right.
But because the daughter, it was easier to get the vessel. So basically the mother this entire time was trying to protect her son. Mm-hmm. Even when she was trying to kill him. Yes. Because that demon is so powerful. Mm-hmm. And they did a good job of, I think, showing how hard it was for her to protect him while also trying to, kill him.
They did. I will say her acting when she throws a fit at the dinner table and is screaming, you can see the emotion in her, how much she actually cares about her child. Yeah. How that crying scene, her mourning her daughter, amazing acting. No, seriously.
No, I agree completely.
That was,
on the floor, like, in tears.
Oh, my God.
No, but that does remind me about the father because
and his lack of emotion whatsoever.
His lack of emotion, his lack of presence in the film. Like, honestly, if all this kind of crazy stuff was happening, realistically, I understand we're talking about a film, but even so, like, realistically, he would be a little more involved, or at least a little more present, whether he
or maybe a little bit more sad that his daughter
exactly, and you don't even need dialogue for that. No. Honestly, a lot of the slow moments that they had could have been replaced with more dynamic moments with the father to show what his part was. Did he not care about his family? Was that the point being told, or was he
I remember him being upset that she couldn't sleep in the room with him anymore. Like, she just couldn't sleep at all, and definitely couldn't fall asleep in there with him. And he seemed bummed about that, but that was, like, the only moment of emotion at all from him.
Exactly. And that, like, begs the question, did he know what was going on with the grandmother? Because the mother knew. She knew everything. So did she share any of this with him to explain, like, her behaviors? Like, you know, maybe the fact that she tried to rip her son's head off. Did she dig her
mother's body up and put it in the attic?
I think so.
I remember him accusing her of it, and then he went in the attic, or one of them went in the attic, and her body was laying there. I know. And the other day when our AC went out, I had to go up in the attic. Yeah, I know. And it used to be, let me tell you, for years it used to be I'd go up in the attic, and just for a split second the thought was The Grudge at the very beginning when she does the lighter. And,
yeah.
Always.
I always hate cutting the light on. And
I know. And it was just a split second thought. I'm like, this is stupid. Move on. I'm an adult. I have to get in my attic. Whatever. You know what I mean? A couple days ago, I go up in the attic, and, like, that scene where the mother's body's laying there in the attic.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
I know. I go up in the attic, and there's no light in the attic, by the way. So if I do need a light, it's either my phone or a lighter.
I can't stand going in attics. It's just something about the fact that, for one, when you go down into a basement, at least your feet go in first.
Right.
So, like, if your foot gets hurt, that's fine.
It's
at least
gonna
now
be okay.
you know
You
there's
can
danger.
live. Right.
Right. When you're going up into an attic, your
It's your head
first. God, the visual that I just had of, like, sticking your head into an attic and just seeing the death happen right then.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I'd do that shit 3 days
visuals
ago.
are so disgusting.
It wasn't fun. I will say, well, I mean, the movie's still not good. There's a lot of really shitty, scary movies that there was a couple of scenes that scared me, though. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm pretty easy to scare, though, to be fair.
That's, like, something you have to judge when it comes to horror films. It's always like, okay, so how good were the jump scares? Were the jump scares just fillers, or were they actually pertaining to the story and made it scary while also continuing the story?
Right.
Was it something stupid like they turn around and a book flew off the shelf and hit them in the face, or something stupid, you know?
Right.
Like, I can appreciate why they do it, because you're supposed to build suspense. That's the point. Because once you have that adrenaline.
In that movie, when the brother wakes up, I think, in the middle of the night and hears a.
Yeah. Oh, that was good.
Right. Right. And then,
hate
like,
that noise.
He sees her, and then it ends up just being like a ball that falls off, and he thought it was her head.
Yeah.
That was good, because that was not a jump scare, and it was creepy. It pertained to her death. It freaked him out. You can't tell if it's a dream or real life. And that's how it is when you wake up in the middle of the night and the room's dark. You think you might see something. Is this real? Is this my eyes playing tricks with me? Is this anxiety? You don't know.
Right.
And then it's just a ball that's not your sister's head. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, how relieving.
Right?
My bowling ball. I better clean that before Sunday.
Right?
Let me polish that up.
I thought it was insane, though, that he saw his sister's decapitated body and went inside and went to bed. And I will say, as a parent myself, and having a parent, you know, for your kids to go to a party and then come home and you not check on them,
yeah,
that's a little weird.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Especially since it got to the
like
point.
They cared.
Well, it also got to the point where they woke up and got ready to leave the house for the day before even realizing that their daughter was missing.
Yeah, you could hear them either, I don't remember if they were talking or arguing, but you could hear the parents awake, and you know they heard the car or a door shut or something, and they never checked on the kids. Hey, did you have a good time? Like, got home safe? Obviously not. But you don't check.
Yeah.
Right. So now you have like when you wake up the next day and have to see that your daughter's decapitated body, which is bad enough, but now it's your daughter's decomposing decapitated body. And like, he's just laying there and hears the scream. Oh my God.
And he already knows what happened.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, I do like that they didn't have him spazzing, because honestly in that moment
You don't know.
you don't know what you would do, but it just feels like there's no one else around. You wouldn't be able to call for help.
There's nothing you can do.
Literally,
there's
drive
no
home.
hope that
You
she
don't
could still live. There's nothing.
It's going home and just... And at night, it's even scarier because you've just seen this terrible thing happen. So you know
And
your
he's
anxiety's
like, what, 16,
gonna...
17 years old?
Exactly. You know your anxiety at that point. You're going to have anxiety whether you're diagnosed with it or not. Like, at that point, you just murdered your sister, and you're going to start seeing things. Like, all these creepy, bad thoughts are going to make you see the worst things ever. So do you want to walk through your house in the middle of the night just to wake your parents up and let them know that you accidentally killed your sibling?
I think that he was so... like, didn't even come to terms with the fact that just happened.
Oh, yeah.
You know? Like, that is insane to have to even live with that.
It was... The story was great.
Yes.
But it could have been told better.
The story was great. It could have been told better, and there could have been a way better ending.
Exactly.
The ending was absolute trash.
It was too messy. It was a little too slow, and there were way too many scenes that weren't that important to the story.
Yes. So what kind of trash scenes did they cut out if those are the ones they kept?
Exactly. Because you always film more than you need.
Right.
And it's almost like...
I was so disappointed that the grandmother was not more involved throughout the film, because she seemed like such an important character at the beginning.
There should have been... If anything, they should have come out with a prequel where they tell what happened leading up to it. If they were gonna come out with another film, it would have to be a prequel, because honestly, redoing that film, it's a possibility, but at this point, it's already like...
but you could go back into, like, the grandmother's story.
Exactly.
And then how the mother was raised with her.
Well, how did the demon come into your family?
Right.
Tell more about that aspect, because
how she even met her friend, that... Yeah, all that.
It just all barely touches any of the...
I have so many questions.
Exactly. And that's...
And we're talking about witchcraft here, which usually in general has nothing to do with demons or the devil or anything like that.
Most witchcraft, yeah.
Right.
The commonly practiced.
Right.
Not black magic.
Right. But when we're going to deal with a witchcraft movie and then have... You can have demons involved with a witchcraft movie, sure. But the kid ended up being like the... What was it? The king of...
The king.
The
that was the...
king of hell.
That
or
was
something?
the Deem. The Deem. Oh my goodness. The Deem. That was the Deem. We give him a cute little nickname. Ugh. No, it was the demon was the king. That's who they were referring to. The demon was already in his body, and that's why they were praising him.
No, I understand that.
Naked.
But he... Yeah, that was weird. And like a 20-second scene of somebody floating up.
Could you imagine them having to climb up there naked? Like, climb up there?
What
Who
if-
would you have to be behind?
Yeah.
No pun intended.
I would not want to be behind anybody, and I'd be like, you guys behind me, but like, you know, they're waiting for their king of the seventh hell or whatever's going on.
Whatever's happening.
I don't know, man. They're all bowing down. You got fucking dead-ass grandma bowing down to you and all that, and...
Saying.
Yeah.
Grandma's dedicated.
She really was. We can give her that.
Yeah, no kidding.
She said, I did it, even dead.
She said, I will prove to my king that I am dedicated.
Right, but my point is that...
Dedicated.
You're stupid. But we have no idea that this is coming, and I like twist endings, and I like endings that I had no idea was coming, because usually I'm pretty good at guessing endings, or at least what could happen next. I'm pretty good at that.
Honestly, twist endings are my favorite thing, because when you really don't know something's happening, it's the most exciting feeling. But honestly, with this film, there was so much random bullshit happening that a twist ending isn't a twist, because there's already so much that you can't...
Twist endings are more like, it's leading this way, and then all of a sudden...
Right, not it's here and here and here and here, and then, oh, here's this.
We're trying to catch up, because like you said earlier, once it speeds up, it happens so fast, so we're just like, oh my god, and then all of a sudden the ending's happening, and you're like, oh?
Yeah.
I guess?
I don't... Like, if the film ends and I'm not excited about the way it ends, it's just not...
You know what else did it for me? that I was so, you can ask Ricky, because he knew how badly I wanted to see that movie Split when the previews were coming on TV all the time. Oh my God, I was so excited. You know I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hated it.
Yep.
Hated it. It could have been fantastic. What kind of shitty twist ending was that?
The monster beast personality.
Yeah, I was not. Yeah. No. I get at the end, I was so disappointed. At least it had good acting, though.
When films are going that good and you're just like, wow, they're doing a really great job, and then they pull out this little surprise factor to amp it up, and you're like, you were doing great until then, and honestly...
I was just intrigued by the multiple personalities, how well the actor portrayed the multiple personalities, what was going on in the film. I thought it was amazing, and then you did that.
Yeah.
So
you were doing great until then, kid.
You did good, kid. You did real good.
Wow, that's crazy. But seriously, if you guys haven't seen Hereditary yet, I recommend seeing it only to understand what we're talking about.
Why we're trashing it.
And maybe you have a different perspective. Maybe you see why they did all the randomness that they did. But honestly, we've had this conversation with a few different people that have seen the film with different perspectives. And we always come down to the same thing. The time management in films is key. When you have a budget of several $1 million to create a film and the acting's not that good, and then you also have extra shots that aren't doing it really just becomes a mess because
that film could have been so well done.
Exactly. And honestly,
keep in mind too that this was like 2 months ago that we watched this.
Around then, yeah.
Around 2 months ago, randomly at like 3-4 a.m. one time. So bear with us.
Oh yeah, we did watch it one time in the middle of the night, but again, it was because we were told that it was, and see, this is a problem with the film, because if somebody can come up to you and say Hereditary is about witchcraft, it's about witches, it's a scary film about this girl.
But he knew that we were gonna like that answer.
Right. But that was also his perspective on the film.
Yeah. Maybe.
If I were to come up to you,
I think that he just thought that would get us to watch it because of our personalities.
Maybe. But honestly, like, that's one way to explain it, though. I would not come up to someone and say Hereditary is a film about witchcraft, because it's not about witchcraft. It has witchy...
I would say Hereditary is about possession, I guess. Something more like that.
It's basically just about a family that has a history in witchcraft and culture, not
specifically black magic,
right? And not basically, I would just say there's a family who has members in the family that were generations ago involved in black magic, witchcraft, and got involved with a demon that requires a vessel, and this family ended up being the unfortunate ones that were the victims of said demon, and different events happen throughout this family that just leads to more and more heartbreak until this vessel is found. If
it was explained to me like that, I probably would have been like, nah.
Yeah, because it's not like the story itself. It's not great. It's good, and it could have been done better. Well. Mm-hmm. But I just feel like the small details, like there were some small details that they had in the film that were really good, like the mother making the house, like the dolls and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, the more little details that you catch on throughout the film, the more exciting it is.
The whole crime scene, and the dad was like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Because she was painting the entire house,
right,
including that little alcove, whatever tree house thing that they got in. So like that was a really cool touch. But the more of those little things that they have in a film, like that's what keeps people excited about them. They're like, it's crazy because like you put things purposefully in a film and people notice it and they're like, "Oh my God, did you see that?" Yeah, like that's what makes a film.
Something smaller to pick up on, not something crazy obvious.
And a lot of that film was crazy obvious. Right. A lot of like too in your face, like kind of annoying. Yeah. Obvious. You know.
Do you think your viewers are dumb?
Evidently, and no offense, guys, but if you got excited over those things, you're probably not paying attention. Yeah. Like you need to pay a little more attention. There's so many small details that go into really good. Yes. You know.
That's why
sold out
your
box
favorite
office.
movies you can watch over and over again, and still 5 times later you're like, oh my god, I did not even pick up on that.
you
even if you
know,
were paying attention before.
Honestly, people will probably think I'm lame, but I recently just watched the new It movies again for like the 7th time. Again. But I've never watched them by myself again. You know what I mean? Like, it's always with a new person, because then I get excited and I'm like, oh, are they going to pick up on this thing? And then I pick up on one more small little thing.
That's cool.
And it's like, ooh, I'm not going to say anything to them, but we're going to talk about it later. And those, if a YouTube video can be made about a film where they're like, Easter eggs that you missed, it was probably a good film.
Yes.
And I'm not saying like 1 or 2 or maybe a couple hundred videos made about it. Like, I'm saying there's thousands of videos, and each one has one extra thing that you didn't catch in it. That's a good film.
Yes.
Like, it's all that little detail that matters. Like, if you're spending millions of dollars,
to catch up on.
If you're spending millions of dollars, you might as well take that extra time to add that little thing, because these small things probably take up like a couple dollars out of the budget.
Right.
And when you budget for a film, you budget over most of the time anyway, so you might as well use your budget on these small things that people are going to get excited about, because that's going to be the stuff that they make merch out of. That's going to be the stuff that people make and put on their Etsy shop, which makes other people want to watch your film. Like, that's how you do it, and I don't think Hereditary did that at all.
I couldn't think of one thing out of that movie that could be sold as, I guess, merch or
the only cool thing that I
exciting.
could see a collector buying from that film is a remake, like a small-scaled model of the house that the mother was making.
I couldn't see anybody on Earth liking that movie enough to buy it, though.
Exactly. And that's...
If it was well done, yeah, that'd be a cool thing to buy, for sure. A little dollhouse of, like, your favorite scary movie, absolutely. But the movie was trash, and if you buy that dollhouse, sorry.
Yeah. So that's just our little commentary on Hereditary. It's... If we had to rate it... I don't know, what would you rate it out of 5 stars?
2.
Okay. That sounds fair.
Because the entire movie from beginning to end wasn't trash.
Yeah, it's not definitely not a 1.
But I'm highly disappointed because I had better expectations for it, and because, like we were saying, it could have been pretty well done.
And if I remember correctly, like, the ending, it ends with him just kind of, like, staring. There's
saying nothing.
Yeah, he says nothing. Like, there's no closure to the film. He's just kind of like, huh?
Yeah. I couldn't even understand if he understood who he was now.
Yeah.
He was
you
just
couldn't tell if
there.
it was him or the demon either.
Right.
And that, I feel like, is
definitely his body. You have a bunch of naked folk just bowing down to you because you're a king of hell now, little boy.
Yeah.
It's like 17-year-old teenager, and all these people are bowing down to you, and he's just looking around and he's content with it. So obviously the demon's still there. Like, I did it now, but he says nothing, and that's the end. And the credits happen,
and there's not even like an expression that you can explain on his
blink.
face. Just like, you know, like when you zone out and you're kind of drooling a little bit. Like, that's honestly what he looked like.
Yeah.
It didn't even look like he was aware of anything.
Nothing.
So, I mean,
I wanted to know if the demon had completely taken over his soul now, his body, everything.
And if he had, like, I would imagine, like, a smirk or, like, a small glimmer in the
like,
eye. You know, something.
I did it. Yeah.
Even if the stare was blank, like, there could be something.
Anything.
Not this, like, open mouth, like, you know, like when you just got home from work and you're exhausted and you just clear your brain for, like, this smallest second. That's kind of what his brain looked like, or his face.
I feel like that's what my face looked like when the credits went on. Like, I was like...
Yeah, it's the wrong impression to leave.
This is the end of the movie now. All right.
And it's a long movie, too,
isn't it? It really was.
Yeah, so...
It felt long to me, anyway.
Honestly, we could probably complain about that movie forever, and...
All right.
And there were some good points, so if you were considering watching it and are now not, we highly suggest that you still watch it. You might waste 3 hours of your day.
I have no idea how long it was, but at 4 a.m. it felt long to me.
Yeah. Still watch it. Get your own opinion. Look at some other videos. Maybe there's Easter eggs that we didn't see that you guys can point out to us that would be interesting, because that would be a little exciting. But
yeah, that'd be cool.
But first impressions are so important, especially with movies, because a lot of times that's the last impression. I will say the movie The Village,
I watched that for the first time and didn't really like it.
Is that the one with the monsters and
the ones we don't speak of?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like it takes place
from a long time ago, and then at the end it's
and there's
current.
like a guy with issues that they blame
and
everything
the blind
on.
woman.
Okay, yes. I haven't seen that in so long, but
I watched it one time and I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it. And then my brother wanted to watch it again.
Doesn't he die? The guy with issues?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember that. That made me really
fell in a
sad.
hole.
Because
he was kind of a dick.
He was kind of a dick, but he had issues and it wasn't understood.
I felt like he was like in love, obsessed with, I feel like her name was Ivy, if I'm not wrong. The blind woman that's going to town to get the medicine. I think her name was Ivy. Doesn't matter though. So we're going to call her that. She's running through the forest and she thinks the ones we don't speak of, or her father actually told her they're not real. So she's still nervous though because her entire life she was told they're real.
They only come out at certain times, and also if you're in the woods, you're more likely to run into them. They don't come into the village unless
somebody entered the forest.
Right.
Something like that, because they were trying to keep their village safe. They didn't want everybody to know that there are, there's technology
monsters
and bad people out there.
Because it seems like it took place a long time ago. So
and it didn't.
And this is not...
That was an amazing twist.
To be rude either, but it's almost like an Amish type feel where they're cut off from certain aspects of the world.
Yes, no technology. So it almost
the only difference is these people don't know at all that this stuff exists.
It's not a choice that they made.
Right.
Now the elders, it was their choice, but I think he said that,
but they're hiding this from
like they grew up in a town where there was murders and rapists and all those types of things, and they're like, we don't really want our children to grow up in this shit, so we're gonna go make our own village and tell them that it's 1762. So
what year is it?
It's 1762, sir.
How do you know that?
I created the first calendar.
Oh, your wisdom is beyond my years.
The moon is in the space.
Could you imagine, being told that and then, going into the city and seeing a cell phone and being
told your entire life that there are monsters that will kill you if you walk into this forest, and then your dad randomly says, they're fake, go get the medicine. And then your blind ass has to go through there being like, my dad said they're fake? Okay.
Well, at least you couldn't see him coming.
Fucked up, man. But I feel like Home Dude was like...
I'm tired.
What do you want me to call him? I don't remember his name.
Father.
No, the dude that was following her, the one that had issues.
Oh yeah.
Right, that's why I said Home Dude.
Home Dude.
Right. So I feel like he was halfway in love with her or obsessed with her or something, and just followed her out there. I don't think his intentions were to actually harm her, but maybe to scare her back into the village or something.
He did. And we keep saying issues. He had some kind of disorder also.
And they never explain what.
Well, they also wouldn't know because they grew up isolated. Right. Mm-hmm. So there was something about him that was different that they never specify. But
he had serious mental health issues.
So I think he was just fascinated by her, and
she was nice to him and treated him like he was no different.
But he also felt like he had to hide, because isn't that what didn't he wear one of the costumes or something to disguise himself, because he probably got made fun of a lot for being different, and he disguised himself to follow her.
Maybe, but I mean, she couldn't see him if he was
that is
different,
true. Well, I mean, but also if other people saw him following her too, like when she first got in, because I'm sure
he also was trying to scare her. You know what I mean? Like
he was a little awkward. Like, isn't that what? Okay, his brain was not functioning at the age that he was, so functioning younger than his age. What do young boys do when they like a girl? They scare them. They play pranks on them. They do all that. So that's probably
we gotta stop teaching our daughters that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
No, for real.
That's toxic.
No, and some boys mean to you, and you're like, he likes me because I remember 5th grade, he threw a rock at me and he liked me.
He made me bleed, and then he laughed. So he has a sense of humor,
and he likes me for sure. So this guy cheated on me. I know he's in love with me.
You know what that reminds me of? This is one topic I definitely wanted to talk to you about.
Oh God.
I made a realization the other day, and it's really not. It's not that big of a realization. It's kind of simple. But I was on my way to work, and like when you're in the car and you're alone, that's like when your brain's like, hey, let's have a conversation. And you're like, music. And they're like, nope, you gotta hear this. So my brain was just kind of doing its own thing. I was driving, zooming.
Wow. Do you have how you drive your car? You're just all over the place.
And I get really close so that when the airbag comes out, I have a pillow,
You're going to be decapitated next.
Oh, my neck. Just cranked. What happened to her? Safety.
Safety happened to her. Being 5'2" doesn't help. So.
Okay. In all seriousness, though, I was sitting in the car and whatever, life, spaghetti brain. Women have spaghetti brains. So, everything was being thought of at one time. So I couldn't even specify how I got to this thought. But the thought came into my head about, I was acknowledging my own toxic traits within my brain.
I love doing that.
You know what I mean? And then I was wondering, I was thinking about them because, I've been so, and not to toot my own horn, I've been so aware of toxic traits from other people in my life and what I don't like. And then I realized, I think a lot of the toxic traits that we get or that we develop over the years, because it seems like every year there's a new one, whether it's huge or small.
Yeah.
Is a way of protecting yourself. All these
100%.
toxic traits that you notice in other people,
So
you
funny.
feel like you have to take on those traits to protect yourself from those people.
I was just talking about this to my mom last night because her and my dad, are very back and forth if they're going to be together or if they're not. Who fucking knows by tomorrow. So she was saying, basically we actually had a conversation.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I was like, I told her straight up, I was like, I'm mad at you. And I felt like for my entire life, I cannot tell you that I'm mad at you because you tried your best and you are a good mom. But you're also so sensitive that if I said, hey, I'm mad at you for this reason at any point, you would get too upset or defensive or cry. And I don't want to upset you in any way. Whereas with my dad, he could be a piece of shit. I could be like, hey, stop being a dick. And he'll be like, okay, my bad. Stop being a bitch. And I'll be like, fair. You know what I mean? That's just how we talk to each other.
Right.
So yeah, I'm mad at my dad for a lot of different things, but I can say those things out loud to him. I have never said those things to my mother, ever.
So they just kind of build.
Right. So they built up for so long because, and it's not even like she was so bad. She wasn't. But the things that were bad, I've never been able to tell her.
Which progressively gets worse and causes some resentment because you're just holding all these things back.
Right. So I'm telling her, basically I don't know what to do with telling her. She basically wanted to know my opinion on if she should be with my dad or not. And I said,
well.
Right. And I didn't know what to do there. I was like, being emotionally involved because I do care for both of you very much and you're my parents, that'd be cool. Other than that, absolutely not. I think you should have left him 30 years ago. You've never been okay together, not once. I am a prime example of a child that comes out of a marriage that only stayed together because of the children. And with that being said, I'm mad at you. And she said, why? And I said, because not that I regret leaving my husband at all, because I don't, and you know that.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the main reasons why I jumped so quickly out of that marriage was because so many toxic things were happening at the same time. And I was like, oh, I have a child now. And I refuse to stay with you because of this child. I refuse this child to grow up thinking this is what marriage looks like, or this is what love looks like. I'm out. See ya.
Right.
Without really attempting to, I mean, yes, we worked on things. But looking back on it, did we try literally everything to make this marriage work? No. Right. No, we did not. So I told her I'm mad at her. And I don't regret leaving him. I'm not sad that we're not together. No, none of that. But I know that how I am as a person now is because of that. Like that, I think what you did was so toxic. I refuse to be that way. So I'm going to be the opposite version of toxic. And then I was even telling her about like my current relationship, the relationships I've been in over the years. Like it doesn't matter how much I care about you. If we're arguing, I'm 1 foot out the door. My thoughts are, I don't really care that much because I'll leave you tomorrow.
Right.
Because of watching that marriage.
Right. And I think like it's okay to learn from toxic behavior and take on the toxic behavior. It's just, it is what it is. It's toxic. And once you start that behavior, it becomes a little bit harder and the lines are a little bit more blurred between when you need to use the toxic behavior and when you're just using it because you're scared and trying to protect yourself. And I feel like that is something that a lot of people don't realize because, you know, they're like, I'm not toxic. I've grown up with toxic people. I know what it's like and I know I'm not being. And that is
a different form of toxic.
That is toxic in itself. You
have to say that you're not. Everybody has their own version of toxic behavior. Everybody. I am currently trying to figure out which ones mine are and hopefully not be that way anymore. You know, that's all we can do is try to learn and grow.
And my biggest thing growing up was in my toxic household and then in my toxic marriage was being naive and trustworthy. So now, I mean, you know this recently. We're best friends, but we even went through some stuff recently that was pretty hard for friends to even go through. But one thing that I was facing during those issues was when to trust myself and when to trust others.
Right.
Because I grew up trusting everybody and then everybody turned out being the complete opposite of what I created in my mind, that I thought I couldn't trust anybody. And that was the road that I took. I was like, well, don't trust anybody right off the bat. Don't be naive. But it's okay to be naive sometimes. And that was something that I had to learn from those toxic behaviors, was just, it's okay to get hurt. Mm-hmm. You have to feel those feelings in order to understand them. You just have to know when you can protect yourself.
Part of feeling, you know, like you can't to protect yourself so much because you're afraid of getting hurt. You're also not allowing yourself to feel happiness or to feel anything at that point because you're afraid of being hurt. And I mean, we've talked about that, you know, having trauma as, you know, in your childhood, to be so afraid of getting hurt that you just choose not to feel, or you choose something to numb the feeling. And, you know, just none of that helps at all. And it just sucks that people have to go through that, honestly.
Yeah, and it's a very fine line.
Yeah.
And it's hard because some people, like you were saying, take that toxic trait and try to do the complete opposite and believe that they're not being toxic, when in reality they might still be hurting themselves now.
I've just now learned over the past maybe 2 years that that's why I am the way that I am. Like, for years, having different relationships, even the nothing fights, I'd be like staring at them like, okay, I'll leave you tomorrow. Yeah. I don't care. Even if I love you, I will leave you tomorrow because I'm not going to stay in something like this. And it didn't even have to be that bad. Just growing up with such a toxic marriage to look up to, and such just fights and arguments and
the fear that it'll develop into that.
Absolutely. And all the unhappiness all the time. Just, I was so afraid to turn into that with anybody that I was like, if it's not fucking rainbows and butterflies 24/7, I don't want it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, that's obviously ignorant.
With, you know, I'm in the middle of the divorce process right now. I remember going into this relationship, and you probably remember some of this too, because we had just started getting close. Mm-hmm. I remember going into the relationship and being so naive to the ways of others that when anything went wrong, my immediate thought was, let's find a solution right now. Let's fix it right now. What can I do? Right. What should I do? Is there something more that I can do? And that was part of the naiveness. You know, I thought I could fix everything. And sometimes you have to sit back and realize you can't. Sometimes it takes that other person. And going into a new recent relationship, I found that it's hard to sit on that line and know when to say, hey, is something wrong? Can I fix it? And when to sit back and say, this will fix itself if it needs to be.
Well, you're not in a relationship to fix that human.
Right. No. I'm referring to, like, the relationship issues. Because, you know, towards the end of my marriage...
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, that is something that I feel like it... Not that... I know a lot of men deal with this as well, but I feel like a lot of women go into relationships wanting to fix.
Well, because we're so nurturing.
Exactly.
Right. But that's not what
You
they're
can't.
for.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's part of what made me think of that was when you were saying, what can I do to fix it? There's so many women that feel like that,
Yeah.
you know? Like,
You can't fix the other person. They have to fix themselves.
I've talked to women whose men have literally cheated on them, and their response is, what could I do differently to make him happier, to make him not cheat on me, to prevent this from happening further or again? What could I do differently? And they're the ones apologizing, even though their man just hurt them like that.
Exactly.
You know? That is weird. You're not there to fix anybody.
Right.
Believe the red flags from the beginning. They're there for a reason.
And that was one of the things that we've discussed too with the marriage is towards the end when I started bringing up the red flags and pinpointing all the behaviors that I had dealt with in the beginning, thinking that I could fix it, when in reality I couldn't, ended up biting me in the butt later, because now it's like, well, you cared in the beginning, you tried and you did this and that. No, what I did was I took your position in the marriage as well.
Oh,
so I was playing both sides, trying to fix everything, when in reality we're partners, but we're two individual people that need to come together to fix this issue if it's between us. I mean, we both have to work on ourselves individually.
Literally my marriage advice to my own parents last night was, I think that you both need individual therapy and then couples counseling before you even consider trying again, and to know that you can't fix each other, that marriage is not 50-50, it's 100-100. And that you're still both humans who are still going to make mistakes in the future. And when somebody does make a mistake, you can't say, oh my God, I'm mad at you for something from 20 years ago as well as what you just did today.
Right.
Let's not do that.
If you forgive someone truly for their past, you have to move forward.
But at the same time with that is like, even Ricky has asked me this, like, why do you bring up something from the past? And I'm like, well, I'm not just holding on to something from the past as if I have not forgiven you. But I remember it, and what you just did today triggered that memory, and I'm trying to now show you a pattern. What you did today is not something brand new, so when you apologize today, now I don't believe you because you did this 2 years ago. Right.
That was one of my biggest issues, was trying to show the pattern without trying to make it seem like I was still upset about the thing that happened in the past. It's about learning. And if you're not showing that you're learning from the mistake you made in the past, then you're obviously not sorry about it.
Oh my God.
Your baby. He didn't make it. If anybody's wondering, the cat almost got the litter box, but missed.
But the cat is this big and just farted.
The fart was bigger than his meow.
Yes, it was. Oh my God. Oh.
Here's the kitty.
Oh, meow into the little microphone. Oh.
All right. Thanks for listening and watching Just a Phase, Such is Life. And have a good one. Tune in next time.
And you can find Just a Phase on any streaming service that you listen to. We will also have a YouTube version. Currently, we are just sitting on a chair. And
it is a very pretty vintage chair.
Okay. They can't really see that. But
it's gorgeous.
We will have a complete setup soon. You can watch on YouTube, listen on Spotify,
We'll be
Apple
more professional looking, not as to what we talk about. So.
Yeah, no, that's not going to get any better.
No, it's actually going to get much worse, so tune in.
And next week we can talk about how I almost got abducted. That'll be a great way
That would be a great way. We'll start with your story, and then we'll go into human sex trafficking and save our children.
And how it could happen to literally anyone at any time, anywhere.
Any second, anywhere, at all. Guys, if you're watching and you're anywhere in public, it takes nothing out of you to look out for the women and children around you, just to make sure.
So we'll see you next time on Just a Face. We could that's hot. We'll start with that fucking face.
Oh my God.
I almost wish we had better video just so people could see the face you made.
It made my eye twitch a little, like,
a little?
Lord. This is really strong and really nasty.
That's how I like them.
Tall, strong, and nasty.
Wrong with you.
I let men's like I let my drinks.
Finish when I'm finished.
Just looking at it now.
Alright. So I'm thinking we can honestly just start with the Hereditary film critique because we have so many opinions.
I woke up the other night and I looked over and Ricky had gone into the couch, and I'm looking around and I was like, all right, the dog was laying with me and Uriah was laying at the foot of the bed, so he had come in when I was asleep, and I looked over and my phone was sitting on the nightstand, so I just touched it to see what time it was. It was exactly 3:33, and literally I was like, okay, that's fucking weird. I gotta lay back down and try and have anxiety so I can fall back to sleep. And then the same thing happened to me that happened last night. I was like, I'm starting to doze off, and that movie has not entered my mind in so long. And then all of a sudden, just in my thoughts, I was like, what if you just heard that? And I got back up and I was like, oh.
You made my neck twitch.
Yeah. Well, don't talk about your neck.
You're gonna get slapped. Speaking of neck, hold on.
Bro, hold on. No, you go first. I gotta tell you something.
I made French fries for dinner last night.
French fries?
Listen to me. Okay, I texted Brandon and I said, what do you want for dinner? And he was like, honestly, you've been eating so healthy, it made me feel like a fat fuck. So I just ate some veggies, and I was like, that's all you're gonna have for dinner? And I felt like being a fat fuck that night. So I was like, this is gonna be perfect. He eats everything. I get to eat everything.
Human trash
can.
can.
And then he's like, man, I'm just gonna eat good tonight. And I was like, but what?
Hi.
What about me? So I was like, I'm going to make French fries. But if I make French fries, he's definitely going to eat some of mine, right? So I made enough French fries that I could still live if some were stolen, right?
This drink is so gross.
So he came in and he took a couple bites of my French fries and he was like, yeah, I'm going to have some myself. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, just go ahead and cook the rest of the fries too. He pulled out he went to go pull out the fries, and I went to bend down to get the pan. And if you know anything about his kitchen, the fridge and the cabinet with the pans are right next to each other. So I bent down to grab the pan as he opens the freezer into my head. Shit! Dead in my fucking temple with the corner of the freezer. And I just sat there frozen, no pun intended. And he's just like, babe, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, I just wanted to make you fries. It's fine.
Oh, you're so sweet though. When Ricky accidentally hurts me like that, I'm just like, I'll just stop and close my eyes, and he'll be like, babe, are you okay? Babe, I'm so sorry. Babe, yep. And I'm just like,
that's kind of what happened. I was like, hold on, let me
like,
breathe.
if you don't shut the fuck up so that I don't either hit you or cry in this moment, give me a minute.